Oh, thanks. I know quite a few of you. This is like Pension Reform 101. There's a leaflet on the table which explains, kind of hits the main points, and a lot of what Lois was talking about is kind of generalized in this leaflet. Okay, what happened with us? SEIU 10-to-1 retirees chapter. Is this too loud? Okay, was that we were excluded along with all retiree groups from these negotiations, which is a misnomer because it was basically just discussions. And we were excluded by the labor group called PEC, Public Employees Committee. And so we started attending these alleged leadership meetings once a week at SEIU, the union, and met many people like Kathy who were active members, who were employees, who were having some similar problems. Well, part of the issue for us is the exclusion, because while we were being excluded, they were leveraging our benefits to get to become, quote unquote, Rebecca Ryan of MEA, competitive with Adachi. They wanted to hit every single point that he hit in his Prop D measure, although it wasn't named at the time, in a way that would make them, the mayor, Hellman, billionaire, excuse me, and this council, this alleged labor council, look better than Adachi. So whether it's going, maybe being a little softer on the workers, but the point is, it's still pension reform, and it's still going after people's pensions instead of other measures to allegedly balance the budget. We tried to get into these meetings repeatedly. The mayor wouldn't meet with us, Hellman wouldn't meet with us, and neither would labor. And we were incensed because this is a labor chapter. We pay dues. Unlike PLB, who I think they should have been a part of this too, a part of all discussions, we were actually a union chapter, well formed and going way back. We had a history, with officers and the like. So anyway, that was the beginning of our anger, and it still to this day persists. Meanwhile, we couldn't really figure out what was going on. The reports given to the members and to the retirees were very strange in terms of what they were doing with not only our pensions and our cost of living increases, but also the contributions. We would hear one thing one week and another thing the next week, and it wasn't exactly put in plain language. The statistics were completely, didn't match, and if you took out your paper and pencil, you couldn't add up what they were saying. Anyway, it ended up, they were doing two things to the retirees, and I think Kathy will talk about what the difference between the Adachi measure, and which is D, and Prop C, but what they were doing to the retirees, and that was to diminish the capacity for us to get cost of living adjustments. That was number one, and both D and C tamper with that, in that based on the actuary, the smoothing, their mechanisms, payout mechanisms, with both C and D, we will not get that supplemental cost of living, which is based on investments coming from contributions, mainly by the workforce. We will hardly get that. We won't get that for 5 years based on the last look at from the retirement system. So, and that's probably not on the ballot. It's probably not in the argument too much. Adachi's is a little worse, and but it doesn't matter. They're going after a supplemental COLA, cost of living adjustment, that many retirees rely on to survive, because for instance, 4,500 retirees get less than $20,000 per year as a pension. Thousands get less than 25,000. We're talking SEIU members, retiree members. We're not talking the management people, and we're not talking even Local 21, whose salaries are higher. And we are talking retirees that have been retired many, many years. So the salaries they had then and the pensions they have now are much lower. You know, my salary has gone up maybe double, and I've been retired a little over 10 years, okay? And I was a social worker. So this supplemental COLA was a big issue for us, and nobody would talk to us. The hardest head in all of this was Bob Muscat. And he kept, and that's Local 21 as director, and he kept playing games with not only the retirees, but also the employees. He does not want retirees in those meetings. Rebecca wouldn't mind, she's the MEA. I even think Larry Bradshaw would have gone along with it. Well, although she doesn't agree with me, but I honestly think he just caved into, I honestly know that SEIU, the new leadership, caved in to Bob Muscat and the Labor Council, and that's where that's at, and that's why these mid-range to lower paid people are going to be so hard hit by this pension. Let me finish, please. Also, as Lois stated, the governance of the Health Service System Board is a big issue, and that was on there. That will cover everybody. We could say nothing to Bradshaw on he's by the way, Larry Bradshaw is the vice president of SEIU 10-1, the entire union. He just kept saying the city is not going to, the city will not do a thing to change the fact that they're going to change the governance of the system. He kept saying that at every meeting, and people were getting agitated, saying, you know, it's more than a poison pill, because when you change the governance of this system to favor the city, they're going to get what they want, and what they want is cost savings. And they will do that in many ways. And also what they get is then the capacity to choose the director of the system. And they will choose somebody that will go along with the city, with, you know, the in-group of the city, whoever is elected. And Ellsburn has been after, like Lois said, after control of this system for going way back for years. And the reason I can say this with complete authority, because I was there watching this happen. Then the rates will be increased, you know, and this Plan 1, which the city and county considers a problem. Mickey Callanan of the Human Resources Department and Rebecca Ryan had discussions about this, and they wanted to fix it because it's an expensive plan and for the city, but it has this value that if you live outside of the city and don't have another plan, because some counties there are no city plans other than that. It gives retirees this is by law, they have to have those health benefits, and it gives them health coverage. Also, if the plan shrinks, like Lois said, then it's going to be more costly. And this is a plan, if you have one or two dependents and you want to be on it, and the city goes after it, you aren't going to be able to afford it. A friend of mine, and also the president of SEIU 10-1 retirees, David Williams, said that his costs increased under this plan right now from when he was employed to when he is now, retired, and he's paying something like an incredible amount per year, $10,000 or something for one dependent, based on this plan, because it becomes more and more costly. The city won't pick up, a lot of those costs. So our feeling in SEIU, and we've been working with PLB, RECCSF, and all these retiree groups, and every single group is against Prop C and D, and some we don't know yet. We're going to be speaking to them, like Senior Action Network and OWL and a few other groups. The Great Panthers signed on to our ballot argument against Prop C, and they're with us. It's something that it's honestly hitting retirees in two ways very hard, and it's not an alternative. It's not a solution to the budget deficit. It's just going after the most vulnerable. and keeping us out of meet and confer, calling it negotiations. There was no contract being signed onto or decided, so we should have been there. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Could I answer one question? Yeah. Sure. She's executive director of the Municipal Employees Association. And that particular group, who was very much present in the meet and confers, is management.
Yeah, so
management people.
So Rebecca Rhines of MEA
right.
sits on the Citizens General Obligation Bond Oversight Committee, and so does
right.
her friend Bob Musk.
Right. I know. They have so much sewed up. And he is a particularly egregious person. I mean, she would have actually let us at least come in. I don't know if the outcome would have been changed, but we could have gone and met with these folks. But he would, no. And by the way, he's going to Alameda on the 8th to talk to the Alameda Labor Council about how to do pension reform. Uh-oh, it's spreading.